the long bonnet models, quintessential Porsche 911s, remaining loyal to Butzi Porsche's original design. Before, you could argue the car was sullied by the appearance of impact bumpers from 1974. This is exactly as Porsche intended the 911 to be. And whilst they're stunning to look at, these cars are at least 50 years old now, and with that brings 50-year-old technology, or lack thereof. You see them on the road less and less and less. Some, however, see the merit in rocking the look that this has, relying on a little bit of modern impetus, sympathetically of course, when it comes to performance, to give a really cool 911 package. And this Albert Blue Beauty is definitely rocking that. Now this car, as we weigh into the corner, beautiful. It's a real good example of that. Built by my friends at Makellos Classics. I've known Matt and Greg and Kevin and Mark and the team at Makellos for 6 or 7 years now, and I really rate their work. They specialise in the air-cooled stuff, particularly the early air-cooled stuff. And whilst a lot of their business used to be bookwork, service work, now a lot of it is restorations and projects. Something like this, which I think is a little bit more reserved, certainly in appearance, but no less of a masterpiece. The original car was a 1972 911T. Makellos were then approached by a customer to build something that was Porsche long bonnet, but a little bit more peppy than original. So what does that mean? Well, put simply, what was once a tired and breathless 1972 911T is now a super fun, sprightly and engaging classic 911 that still remains loyal, really, to that original Butzi Porsche design. As we are finding out, the engine is actually started life as a 3-litre SC engine, uprated 3.6 litres. It's got a 964 cranks, it's got a longer stroke, it's more torquey as well. A Motec engine management system, crucially. Resont, I think I've pronounced that right. Throttle bodies and intake plenum, which actually looks like a GT3 intake. And DC60 cams as well. Now all of that gives around 300 horsepower, which is pretty much double what the 1972 911 had straight out the box. Bear in mind we're rocking around about 1100 kilos in weight here, so the numbers are really good. Mated to that 300 horsepower, uprated 3.6 litre flat six engine, we've got a 915 gearbox. The ratios are the same as stock, however the shift itself is a lot shorter. It's clearly been rebuilt because it's a joy to use. There's a really nice positivity to it. There's none of that vagueness that you can quite often get with tired gearboxes. So the gearbox is as tight as the engine is revvy and fun. Now the idea is with the crafting of the engine to not necessarily go for a super revvy car, but deliver on a car that gives lots of torque in fitting with what the owner wanted. So in this car in particular, between 4 and 5 grand, it has got plenty of torque, a great soundtrack to it, but a real oomph that I can tell you the original 911T it never had. Oh, it feels great through the corners there. In terms of the chassis then, completely rebuilt as you'd expect. Bilstein Sport dampers give a really wonderful compliance to this car while adding a layer of focus that again you could argue was missing from the factory 1972 911T. Stiffer and thicker torsion bars, thicker anti-roll bars or sway bars as they're called here. A big win again as well, plenty of mechanical grip. The early cars on skinny little tyres, they are playful, they do move around. With this, with the bigger tyres and the stiffer suspension, there's a lot more grip, and to be honest, it's super communicative. Lovely, 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 lovely. There's so much movement to these old 911s. It's great fun to drive, it's really playful. and at sensible speeds as well. I'm not breaking any laws driving this car. And the 911S exhaust, although to my mind, certainly in terms of appearance, it looks more like a 911R exhaust with its twin centre exit tailpipes. The result is this car is absolutely awesome. The beauty is the engine. Got loads of pickup to it, loads of pickup.
The interior of this 72T hot rod is just as masterly, with a series of subtle yet well-judged upgrades which don't detract from the original concept, enhancing what was already on the table from this 911, which, it's easy to forget, is actually more than half a century old. This all means that unlike those original early 911s, it's no hardship sitting here and piling on the miles, especially when comparing this experience to anything of a more modern Porsche persuasion that we're used to today. Fun, engaging, and relatively easy to drive, this is the sort of restomod approach which ticks a lot of boxes for those who want the early 911 look without that archaic driving experience, which can often mean piling on the miles, can be a tedious experience from behind the wheel.
So the reasons I love this car are twofold really. Number one is the guys at Makellos have clearly delivered in raising the bar quite substantially on how the 911T drives, how the 911T engages. So they've given this classic 911 that's really usable. But the other thing, and perhaps the most cleverest thing, is it flies so much under the radar. To the everyman and woman, this looks like an original 911, a 1972 911T. But it's got lots and lots of little breadcrumbs all over the car in terms of improvements that you only realise after studying it in great detail. There's a PCCM in there so you can plug your phone in, and there's a USB port as well, properly plumbed into the car. Again, just gives a little bit of modernity without spoiling what is quite clearly a stunning classic 911. The headlights, well, they're pretty useless on the air-cooled stuff, aren't they? Like candles is the phrase I've coined on the channel before. They've been swapped out by headlights by a company called 911 Headlights. They use modern technology, and the best bit is they look like the classics. Oh. That gearbox is absolutely lovely, by the way. Beautiful, positive, sturdy throw to it. Beautiful. Hasn't got that long throw that the factory gearbox had. It's tight and it's precise. Much like the whole car, really. Throw that in. Oh. The nose is sharp, the rear is stable. Sounds great as well, doesn't it? The very last thing I want to say is a massive thank you to the owner. This is actually collection day for him, and yet I've been granted some precious hours in this car to find out exactly what it's all about. I'm so grateful, as I've said before. Without the kindness of enthusiasts like that, I can't do my job. Thanks also to the guys at Makellos for inviting us along to take a look at this. A wonderful project, highly usable, highly entertaining, and really gives the 911T a bit of a new lease of life for the modern day.